We are ready to go. We are recording. We are live. We are hitting it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hump Day Happy Hour. As always, my co-host and producer, Chase Thompson, and from San Antonio, Scott Carson, Austin, Texas. And we are excited to have the most interesting entrepreneur I have ever known and meet. My buddy, join us from Denver, Colorado, Jason Sisneros, buddy. Hey, man, glad to have you.
What's up, brother? Don't set the bar too high,
Hey, you've got an amazing story. Stephanie Goodman says hello as well. She's here. Probably going to be throwing things in my head later.
Blowing her a kiss.
He's blowing you a kiss.
Thank you.
I read about her escapades on the airplane with some drunk guy the other day.
Right?
Yeah, the one time she doesn't fly with me, she gets accosted.
I was like, my boy must have not been there because I don't think he was.
Well, usually it's her being the bodyguard of me, not me being the bodyguard of her.
Is that right? Nice.
Well, hey, Jason, we got about 100 people already watching us here, which is great, man. Excited. I know you've been busy. Thanks so much for taking time on your busy schedule. And I've been cracking up some of the photos of your toes up on the water there in Bora Bora or wherever you've been for the last time. But why don't you take a second and just share with all the guests on here kind of who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Great. I've been doing business turnarounds. I've had a long and illustrious career. I've purchased multiple companies. I fix them and put them back together again, and then either keep them for cash flow or sell them.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for a while, and that company's through Anton J, correct?
Anton J, JAE.com. Yep.
Nice. And what made you get into that? Kind of what was your avenue into doing that?
Well, my avenue into doing it was failing miserably at my first few companies.
You failed forward, though, right?
I failed forward, and one of the most interesting situations. In fact, I'm getting ready to travel with this guy here in a little bit in June, and I had a conversation with him. He's a really good friend of mine. I call him Doc, but I was going through probably two companies that I had crashed literally at the same time. Like you can't get any worse. And he called me up on the phone and he said, "Hey, I know you're having cash problems. Why don't you come over here? I want to pay you for some of your advice." And I thought it was a joke, right? I'm like, "Really? You're going to pay me?" And I said that on the phone. I go, "You're going to pay me?" You realize that evidently I'm not very good at this. So he said, "No, just come over." So I sat down in his office and he told me, he goes, "Jason," he goes, "one of the things I love about you is you don't make the same mistakes twice. And I'm going through some challenges myself that I think you can help me with from your experiences that you've been going through." So that was the start of that, and then it's never been the same since.
That's awesome. And one of the things I always like to ask people is do you remember that exact moment? That moment you really thought, "I'm an entrepreneur. I'm doing my own gig. I'm an entrepreneur." You ever remember back to when that was? What got you kind of started on that path?
So here's probably, rather than a moment, because the moment for me was I'm completely unemployable, right? I'm unemployable. I mean, because when I would look at things and I would want to fix them, and I continually came up against that's the way that we used to do things. That's this is the way that things have always been done, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we going to continue to do it that way if there's a better way, or at least trying and moving forward? And that happened really, really early in my career. And I think, as you know, is this thing being recorded?
It's recorded, yes, sir.
Well,
live and recorded.
It's live and recorded.
Live and recorded. So there'll be some of the things that we'll breeze over. But I went from you guys are actually drinking beer. Like, this is an actual happy hour.
It's a happy hour, yeah. It's
real talk.
Yeah,
real talk.
I've got my really healthy, hydration water here.
Hey, I got 3 bottles at the house. And so what I'm going to do, Jason, is I'm going to send you, for all our guests, we're going to send you an official Hump Day Happy Hour Stein glass here for you. So I need to get your address, or just drop them off when I'm in Denver next with it. Cheers.
I love it. Cheers, brother. Cheers. So so basically my career got started out, in the non-legal drug area.
You're not the first drug dealer we've actually had on or past previous drugs.
then you know a bunch of great people. Okay,
great people.
So
you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with, right? So,
that's right. That's right. And your package will be waiting for you in Denver. Okay. Kidding. Totally kidding. So anyway, so I understood about supply and demand, obviously, but the switch immediately from that was to go into traditional business, and it started out that way. I went to work for just a regular guy. I was nailing tax strip down on the floor because I didn't have any skill sets other than beating people up and doing drug deals. And so from that point, I learned how to put down tax strip and pad, and then that moved up into, in the business, and basically went from that to, I can do this better myself. So I'm going to go into the carpet business.
Okay.
And that's where it all started.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting route to go that route. Hey, but that's the thing, is sometimes it's the common sense stuff of doing things. So you've got a kind of a non-traditional background, which is fine. You're self-made, definitely. Who would you say was probably the biggest influence for you during that time?
During that time, it was strange again. I just my life is so strange, right? And then you go back and it's like a perfect confluence of the perfect people at the perfect time. And there was a guy by the name of Tim Foley who was huge in the Amway business, right? Mm-hmm. And I got invited, I can't even remember who, to one of their board sessions and whatnot. And never really did anything with it, but I got a tape of Tim Foley and just started listening. It was the first sort of influence into my brain that hey, things can be different if you're listening. Look, back to Chase's point, you're the sum of the 5 people that you're around, and something like that was said to me, and I was like, I don't want to end up like that, because I know I'm going to end up dead or in jail, right? Mm-hmm. And so that led to me actually going to an event and meeting Tim, who's just an amazing human being. And I took that wisdom with me. But he was really my first business mentor that I remember. And then, from there it was Zig Ziglar, and one of the just the absolute most amazing moments of my life was when he invited me to come in and speak to his team. Because I listened to that guy hours on top of hours on top of hours. So he was a huge influence on me. Then obviously Tony Robbins. I went to work for Tony, some years ago. The only job that I have ever had was working with him, and he's been a giant influence in my life as well.
Yeah, Tony's just an amazing character. Zig's just phenomenal. The world definitely misses Zig since he's passed on a little way, but
absolutely
his wisdom stands true today. And both those guys, it's great. I had a buddy that went to a Tony Robbins event just a couple of weeks ago, and you can see the life-changing aspect of it. And
it's a shift. I mean, there's nobody that does it better than him. And that, one of the things that I've watched him physically do all the years that I've known him and been around the organization was, he sat down after every segment of his deal. He sits down with a notepad and surrounds himself with people and says, "Look, what was great about that segment? What could be better? And what will we do differently next time?" And so, if you saw him 30 years ago and you're seeing him now, it is unreal. And I'm looking at 10 years down the road. If everybody ran their organization, it's something that I've adopted in my own life, is nobody starts out with all the tools. I don't care where you come from, whether you come from, being adopted like I was and thrown into a really shitty family situation, or you've come from, what they call a silver spoon and been handed things. Everybody, nobody is handed the tools of what you're supposed to do when you become a grown-up and a productive member of society to be successful. And the great thing is we live in a day and age where we can listen to the smartest people on the face of the planet and adopt those things that work for us in our own lives, and not just be playing with a deck of cards that was dealt to you, right?
Oh, totally makes sense. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of entrepreneurs on here, real estate investors, people looking to make that leap into either starting a business or doing something. And a lot of people, they struggle with that. Either they're too proudful to ask for help. And sometimes the easiest thing is to ask for help because a lot of people that are successful are the most giving of individuals, right? And they don't want you to make the same mistakes that they can. And seeking counsel versus seeking advice is a bigger thing, because every hootenanny's got an asshole and an opinion.
Well, it's interesting because the business I'm in. I mean, I'm dealing with business owners all the time, and one of the it's heartbreaking to me that there's two sides of each entrepreneur, right? And one is that side that you show the rest of the world that I'm in control and I'm the powerhouse and I've got every damn answer and everybody comes to you. And on the other side is this, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing, right? And I get to see that real side of business owners a lot, whether I'm buying the company or if I'm helping in a turnaround situation. And I would say that getting rid of that, but you have to be careful, right? Telling people, well, you've got to be more open. There's people that really don't want your success, right? There's that's the reality of what we deal with. And if you show weakness to your team, that ends up giving you that ends up opening you up to people starting to doubt your word. So who you seek counsel from is incredibly important, right? And that I've heard so many owners that I've dealt with just when the veil comes down and all the bullshit comes down, because I wait for it. I'll listen to all of your assumptions and your sessions where you've made yourself believe whatever you want to believe until that wall comes down, and then we can start to deal with the actual truth. You feel inept, you feel like you don't have the right answer. You go on Facebook and every 5 seconds there's a new guru who was sitting in front of a freaking car and on a trip and all these other these bullshit games that you see.
I call them douchepreneurs.
Douchepreneurs. I love that. I'm actually, I'll give you credit the first 3 times.
That's fine. That's yours after that, brother.
Fourth time it's mine. But I see that and there's damage, right? Because what happens is you get somebody that says, okay, increase your traffic, right? For your website, and you go, oh man, that's the answer to my problem. And the challenge is that I surround myself with people doing way better than I am, that with diverse opinion, from all walks of life, all around the world, and it's the most valuable asset that I have is that circle of people that I consciously choose to put in my life, because that information. My assumptions being challenged doesn't happen from people that are dependent on me for a paycheck, right? Because in their mind, whether it's right or wrong, if you have somebody that's working for you, they're never going to cross that line of telling you what you need to hear, because if you don't like them, now their paycheck is in danger, right? And so you have to have people that you surround yourself with by adding value. Keith Cunningham, Tony Robbins, all of the people that I put in my life, you have to add value to them. Either by paying to go and see them, or serving their company, or bringing them business, or whatever it is, serving their charity, to be able to add value, and that's really the key. And your assumptions are the things that keep you in the place that you're at. Right. I assume that if I do this one thing, that it's going to change things. And I can tell you one thing that I learned is that adding revenue to your company is sometimes the worst solution, right? Before you fix the other pieces of it. It's a one-legged table. And when sales slow down, companies go out of business. And it's the worst thing that can possibly happen, because most people's business is their identity, right? And when a company goes down, I tell people all the time, you might think you're just going to start another company. It takes 3 years to recover, if not just financially, but mentally. And trust me, I went through it multiple times before I started to learn these lessons that when you take a company down, if you're not protected, if you're, from your psychology to your financial position, to your home, to your cars, to to your family and your kids and your wife and your husbands, and it's a nightmare. So I'm on a mission to save as many companies as I possibly can.
Now, one of the great things because we're all friends with Aaron Young.
Yeah.
Lawfulness Associates. And Chase actually runs one of the number one note investing podcast out there. And you guys actually interviewed Aaron just recently for your that came out today, episode 69, I believe, right?
Yep.
And Aaron talked a lot about adding value to your staff. You want to talk a little about some of the quotes that Aaron left on it? I guarantee Jason will agree with, and I just thought it was a valuable. Since Jason brought it up, to add to it.
Well, Aaron's a client, right? He's a client and a dear friend of mine, and I know probably almost everything that you're going to show me from, because we're so.
Well, and it wasn't even about that. I mean, he was talking, our show is really designed for people that are either doing the investing part-time and looking to go full-time, or just recently full-time, or they've been full-time for a while and they don't really have a ton of employees, anything like that. But the value that Aaron brought to the table with his perspective, his business owner mentality, all the businesses he's run and things like that, really helps set pace for people that do want something bigger and do want more and these types of things. And he talked a lot about that employee relationship and how you're never going to be the business owner you thought you were going to be. You're just the highest paid employee if you can't manage to figure out the most important piece for your employee, because rarely is it going in and punching the clock at your establishment. It's rarely ever that for the employee. It's they want to do this. They have these goals. They have these aspirations. They have these dreams. And that until you, as the business owner, start focusing, turning your focus on them and then empowering them to run your business instead of you always having to be the one that churns the wheel, you're just always going to have to be there. He's able to step away from the companies he has because he's empowered everybody there based off of the goals and aspirations and dreams that they have told him they have. And that allows him so much more freedom and them as well, and so that was kind of what he brought to the table, which is really great for even someone who's solo to maybe not always be bugging the person that you outsource to do this or outsource to, like having the conversation up front with your attorney about, don't call me if the issue is less than $500, because that takes so much weight off your plate and gives them so much freedom to go do X, Y, Z, and everybody's situation is going to be different. But it was fantastic to hear someone who has run and runs multi-million-dollar companies talk about things in such a way that, even if that's not ever your goal, it's at least something that you can take away from that to go, what am I doing to be able to step away from my business or for 10 days without it completely imploding and things like that.
Yeah. And it's a value add, one of the things that I talked to Aaron about when he brought me in was, you want to interview. And this is an interesting concept because it happens every company that I either take over or buy or do turnarounds in is you have to find out what is we call it a WIFM, right? What's in it for me? And if you understand everybody around, I look at it like you've got employees and you've got customers, and then you've got a personal relationship. Like what if you treated Steph the same way that you treat your customers, right? And I'm not, you might know, I know you treat your customers amazingly well, but think about, for most people, they have ongoing conversations. There's conflicts, there's resolution, there's what is it, what's in it for you, babe? What do you want to do? What trip would you like to go on? Where would you, and we don't address our companies that way. I mean, before I learned the financial aspects of business, the one thing that I understood from my upbringing was culture and having the back of the people that are with you. Right. And so my early turnarounds were done from that concept. And that's where that word WIFM came from. What's in it for me? And then you build your organization around the WIFMs of your people and the WIFMs of your clients. Right. Because and again, think about your clients. This is a question that came to me from Keith Cunningham, who's the real rich dad in the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. Right. He's my chairman. And he said, what if you ask yourself this question, what if you still had every client that ever tried you? Right. What if you still had every client that ever tried you instead of being like AT&T, right, who I've been with for 12 years and back before they had, the Wi-Fi and that kind of stuff, that I spent $8,000 in a month on cell phone bills because I was in Spain, right? And then I see an ad on television saying, hey, your first 3 months for free. And I'm going, what about me, right?
Right.
I've been with you for 10 years or however long. But that's how we treat our clients. That's how we treat our customers. How can you add value to the people that are in your direct circle? And whether that's an employee or your customer base, whatever it is. And then if you continue to, you say you have one sale, you think it's just a one sale close. What else can you do to add value to that person? Right. Yeah. And that's where I've ended up with so many companies, is because there's always another way to serve people. Right. We, I'll give you one example out of Nike. Right. We took on their account, and they said, you're going to get this piece of it, and we have this big chunk of it that nobody's ever going to get. Well, by the time we ended that and I sold that company, we had the big chunk, and they had the smaller chunk, because we went to work every single day asking the question, what more can we do for you? Right? It's called, if everybody wants to know the word, it's called entanglement. How can I entangle myself with my staff? How can I entangle myself with my clients so that I'm not ever worried? I'm never worried. I don't do any advertising. I don't even have a Twitter account until today just to get on this freaking thing. Because people know the value that I bring and my organization brings. And if you're known for adding massive value to people, you will never have to wait for a meal. You will never have to wait for a meal.
Amen to that. Now, one of the great things that you talked about before, I thought was a great thing, and a lot of people don't have. When you walk in an organization that's dysfunctional and really needs some upbringing to make things on, one of the coolest things I thought that you do is you literally get a scoreboard for people. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little about that and how it kind of really drives, kind of unites the employees and the mentality of the organization as well, too, Jason, to really take things and rebuild it?
There's a gap, and scoreboard. There's a gap that we think that people go to work, and I saw this amazing study and it was done by Yale and Harvard, and it's done almost every year for like the past 40 or 50 years on what motivates people at work, and low down on the list for employees, people that are working in the company itself, number 5 is money, right? And that sparked in me. I'm like, what's not being met? Why would you change jobs? Why would a customer leave you? What are those things that cause that? And there's a gap in understanding between in your evolution of a business. There's a gap of what problem are we actually trying to solve? And people are looking. If people leave you or they're disengaged, here's another big thing, right? Heads or arms and elbows is a sort of a McDonald's worker, right? Where they go to work and you've got their arms and elbows, but you don't have their heads and hearts. And the heads and hearts piece comes in because we miss 2 major components, and that is competition. People love competition, right? And you're either missing the gap in the competitive spirit of who we are. Think about it. If you're on this phone call today, our ancestors killed shit to be here. You know what I'm saying? And now we're all soft and worried about cuss words and all this PC bullshit. And we're the descendants of people who survived, right? And there's that gap of competitiveness. How is what you're doing, or the people that are working with you, for you, or how are they meeting that competitive drive, right? And then the second thing is that if they're not meeting something financially, then they're going to be looking outside of you, right? There's those 2 gaps that get met. And so what we did was we formulated many years ago an idea called scoreboards. And we identified, and it starts at the top. This is a really long, sort of long drawn out process. But at the top, you have the understanding that sales and marketing is just one piece. You've got operations, and then you have training and culture, and then you have finance. And those 4 work in a sort of a wheel. And then underneath of that, once you've determined that that's the way that things are going to be, underneath of that, you build your structure, right? Who does what? What do I need people for? And then once you dig into your staff and you figure out, okay, this person is going to be here. How do they add revenue? How do they add value to the organization? And then you pay them, right? You say, here's what you've got to do. There's a scoreboard, but if you put in extra effort, you're going to make a piece of what we don't need to spend over here, or the revenue that you're going to be bringing in. And every person in my organizations knows the value that they bring, and it's crystal clear. A lot of people don't want to open up their books to their staff. They don't want to open up their balance sheets. They don't want to open up their P&Ls, mainly because most business owners don't know how to use them or read them in a sufficient fashion. Right. But in my organizations, profit, loss. It's education about business in and of itself, so that they don't think that I'm working and doing all the work and they're not getting any of the reward, right? They see me driving a Lamborghini and going on these trips. Well, all you have to do is add more value, and you could be exactly in that same spot.
How does that work for someone who's solo, like a lot of the people that we deal with? Like, what can you scorecard yourself? Can you scorecard things you're not outsourcing? What can you do in that way?
So the problem that I see in a lot of businesses, they try to overcomplicate things. And if you're an individual, a solopreneur, somebody that's operating on your own, you should be on a scoreboard yourself. And how you do that, and it could be by day, but in the beginning, it's called a lead measure, and you determine, okay, what's my lag measure? What people call a goal or an outcome, right? What's my outcome? So if I want to go from $1 million to $2 million, then you just write out a big long list of the activities that must happen for you to be able to get there, and then you filter through those and you say, okay, these 4, and don't make it complicated. These 4 things. If I woke up in the morning and I got on the phone and I made 20 phone calls, and then if I was able to follow up with 5 people, if I was able to take 2 people to lunch, and I was it, there's your 4 points.
So in your vernacular, don't bullshit yourself. Put down the list of items that would actually move the needle, and then do those items.
It's that simple, brother. It really is. And we're like, my algorithm and Facebook and blah blah blah. Bullshit. Like, who cares? I'm a huge learner. I'm surrounded by books in all of my offices and all of the states that I'm at. But it's about educating yourself one little bit at a time, and forget the fact that there's a magic bullet out there. Nobody has a magic bullet. Nobody, right? When you go to my website, Anton J, people that don't know me, sometimes talk to people who do know me, and they go, have you been to AntonJ.com? That guy's a dick, right? Because I am.
That's why we get along so well.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's the truth. It's the truth, right? If you're not willing to put the next, and it depends on your outcome. Look, I'm just assuming, I'm here to add value to you guys, and I'm just assuming that everybody that's listening and you guys especially want to take your business or your life at any level just to another level, right? Progress. You've heard Alex talk about it a lot, right? Progress is what makes us healthy mentally and physically, making progress. And if you're not measuring, how the fuck do you know how the hell do you know if you're making progress or not? And that is a singularly important point to the person who's staring themselves in the mirror. How are you measuring yourself? You want to lose 10 pounds? Then by God, what did I eat and how did I work out? That's not up to the government. That's not up to whoever the hell ends up in the presidency. That's not up to your past or your grandma or your mom or your dad or whoever the hell it is. It's up to you.
Right.
And it's making those small, tiny little decisions every single day, ending the day with, if you do what Tony Robbins does with this GBD, with great, better, different, if you end your day every day with a great, better, different, what was great about today? So you're not going to bed beating the shit out of yourself all the time because you sleep with that for 8 hours, right? Mm-hmm. What can I do better instead of what did I fuck up for the day? And then, blah, 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 that mentality, you go, what can I do better? And then the D, what will I do differently tomorrow, right? What will I do differently tomorrow? That's where life changes. And it's just a series of those that you put together over a period of time to take your game to the next level. And scoreboarding yourself, Chase, to answer your question, as I breathe, is a key component, because you're measuring yourself. And I don't care whether it's a solopreneur, whether you're a single mom or a family or a single dad or whatever the scenario is. If you measure yourself and set a standard, it's not a matter of, look, there's a great word that I always love to use, and I don't know if it's 2 words or 1, but it's non-negotiable, right? Where am I going to go? And then I make it non-negotiable, right? What am I going to do with my company? I make it non-negotiable. And then every one of my team members, my executive staff, my mid-management, my employees, we make it non-negotiable because it's not for Jason Sisneros' outcome. It's for their own.
Right.
And you're either lying to me or you're lying to yourself. And I'm not interested in being involved with anybody who's not willing to take part in their own rescue. Right?
It's the whole burning the boats atmosphere. We won't accept no. We will not accept failure. This is non-negotiable. This is what we're going to do. So what we're going to instill and go from there.
Which is really easy for us to say on a podcast.
It is, right?
And I've listened to this bullshit my whole life. I mean, how many seminars have I been to and listening to the best? And they tell you just positive think your way through this shit. Bullshit. It doesn't work that way. It's not an orgasm that happens and all of a sudden you're successful, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of foreplay. There's a lot of foreplay, and you got to learn that elegance and the language. What are the words that you're using that you're getting back, right? And making your life instead of about the world owes me something, but measuring your feedback to the people that you're doing business with. Nothing expands without other people being involved. Nothing.
Yeah, that's so huge, man. I mean, so many entrepreneurs are so afraid of making mistakes on something, and you have to make mistakes. But that's the only way you get better in life at your job or your career. What you're doing is to make those mistakes and learn from them. But not beat yourself up. Just realize that's the path you got to go. And so many people are scared. I just like to use the analogy. If we had to learn how to walk when we were 30, we would be in a world of wheelchairs for the most part. And it's sad and unfortunate for that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get where I was without making mistakes on a daily basis. Same thing with you, same thing with Chase, and everybody we know that's been successful. You make mistakes, and that's what makes you good.
It's a fear of loss. You know what I mean? And we all have it. Like, we all have that fear of loss. What if I lose? And all you have to do is go spend some time at a hospital with somebody that is stricken with a life-threatening disease, a cancer, something of that nature. Watch television. I mean, we're watching what happened in Brussels, and those people were taking their mother to drop. They were dropping their mom off. The mom's fine, and the 2 kids are dead. Right? From America. You go whatever happened over in Pakistan, where they're there to celebrate a holiday, and you're dead. Okay, whatever it is that you're afraid of it's a absolute bullshit lie, because it doesn't matter. What if it go? You're not going to take any of it with you. And if anybody, and here's what I tell people all the time, and I thoroughly believe this, is that if you drop me off naked in the middle of a city anywhere in the world, I'll come out the next day in a brand new suit and $10,000 in my pocket. Why? Because you can't take who I am. You can't take who I am. Right. You can take everything from me. I don't give a shit. You can't take who I am. And who I am is a summary of the absolute sold out commitment to being better tomorrow than I was today. And that's where I'm at, 44 years old, and I've got 44 years of fuck ups that would crush most human beings. And I haven't experienced some of the things that other people that are probably watching this that would just buckle my knees. But at the end of the day, it comes back to, you can't take who you are as an individual. And as long as you're breathing, you can get better incrementally, not a huge jump. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and go on Facebook and advertise that you're an expert and be a fucking millionaire. You're not going to do it, right? It's just not going to happen. So it's incremental decisions, and it's in that incremental process that people don't want. Why don't people take vitamins for the most part? Because it's a vitamin, and I don't know until I'm 20 years down the road. And I get my blood checked every quarter, right? But you don't know whether you're progressing or regressing. But if you take an aspirin, the pain's gone immediately. But what is it masking, right? And a lot of people use booze and drugs and food and relationships and all that kind of stuff, whatever it is, to try to distract ourselves from the fact that I got to get my ass on a treadmill. That's it. You know what I mean? You could buy all the diet books on the face of the freaking planet, but get off your ass, go for a walk, and eat some vegetables. There you go. Right?
Take action. Take action.
Take action. And we live in a world that probably 5 to 10 years from now, Ray Kurzweil is a massive, massive influence in my life as well.
Ray's a great dude.
Ray's a good dude. I just love, I mean, it's mind blowing. I sit there, as much as I'm talking today, because you guys invited me on here, I sit there blown away when I'm in his presence, and we are 5 to 10 years away from this thing called perfect knowledge. Right. And that means that there's a lot of knowledge. You can Google anywhere and say, what am I supposed to eat during the day? Right. This much, organic chicken, this much green leafy vegetables, and then some sort of fats and fibers. Right. Like this is the thing. It's about, and your business is exactly the same thing. But the problem is that people's psychologies are such that you are going to get what you think you deserve every moment of every day. And the only way you expand that is by expanding your knowledge, expanding your skill set. And what happens is you're not going to go incrementally up either. Right? That's something that you hear from the bullshit gurus on stage all the time. Right? It's just going to keep getting better and better. Bullshit. You're going to do something and it's going to be wrong, and you're going to come back down and you're going to go, what the fuck did I do that for? Right? And then you're going to go, okay, that didn't work. Right? The book of that didn't work in my life is this huge.
How many chapters is that book? Hey, real quick, Jason, how many chapters you got in that book?
I don't even know if they have a number. Right? It's probably as big as our national debt.
Old school Encyclopedia Britannica size, right?
More than that, I promise you. One of the things that was a benefit for me growing up the way that I did, and seeing death at an early age, and is I just realized all of this is an illusion. You know what I'm saying? All of this is an illusion. The only thing that matters is how you leave that last person you were with feeling. Right? What value did you add? It's just, we've got a project called the Servant Warrior Project for men like my adopted father that never had great leadership and whatnot. And we do some things for abused women and children, and a lot of that comes from that none of us are adding value unless we're serving. You must serve. And a lot of the, what you'll see on Anton J is me being very, very hard with people with the truth. Because sometimes if I'm the only person that's going to step into somebody's life and tell them the truth, and a lot of them are business owners whose family depends on them, whose communities depend on them, who everybody goes to as a pillar, who do they have to talk to, right? Right. Who do they have to listen to? Who do they have to bounce their stupid ideas off of, right? And some of our ideas are stupid. I've had a ton of those.
I think I got 17 today.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. And you just don't act on it, right? You try not to. That's the part of wisdom and experience. So,
well, anyway. A lot of entrepreneurs, bosses, although they have a rhyme as yes man, they don't have somebody that can contradict them either, because of they beat people down for having something that's different, or they just don't listen. They just don't develop that. And having somebody that's going to tell you, hey, you're screwing up here, or don't do this, or that's idiotic because of this, and this, is worth so much more than people will say yes to everything.
I'm writing a book that's going to come out sometime next year, and a lot of this, of what people's dumb assumptions, including my own, are going to be in the book. Assumptions that cost years of your life, right? Who cares? Look, money is a resource, right? And time is the only thing that we all have as an equal thing. You guys have heard that in a million different ways and from different people. But my time is absolutely the most valuable thing to me. And I'm not going to spend it with people who won't tell me the truth. Right. It's cost me, I can't tell you the time, the heartache, the people I've hurt, the people that have hurt me, the money lost, the the absolute destruction that comes from losing your business, from losing your identity that goes along with that. It's a mission for me, brother. It's a mission for me.
It's definitely one of your passions, and you can be around you 10 minutes and realize that, and it's a beautiful thing.
Passion.
Yeah.
Passion.
Passion.
What are you talking about?
KSSO.
So I got a question for you, because you shared some interesting stories early on about some of the interesting places you've gone, some of the interesting stories that you've done, and I know a lot of people are like, huh? Because I was like the most interesting entrepreneur out there. So you've sold helicopters, or you bought helicopters and then sold them. You've traveled abroad and bought and sold gold ore. Same thing with diamonds. You've been kidnapped once or twice. You were telling me about that.
Kidnapped once, arrested once. And they were both the same thing. Basically it was just, I was stupid and was going to go do this thing, right? That I thought, oh, you just walk into Africa and you just go buy some gold and then you go make money on it, which was completely stupid because, I have very light skin and I stand out pretty well in Ghana. Right. And so, if you're out after hours or whatever, they just grabbed me, held me for a little while. And all they wanted was $1,000 or whatever it took to get me out. But yeah, it was an experiment into what can I do to add more value? What can I do to add value not only to the tribes or to the people that I was going to work with who get taken advantage of quite often, and also my own experiences, and evidently of my group of people that decided we were going to do this. Guess who was the only one that went? This dumb guy. So and then I had another friend that joined me, Eric, who I don't know if you know him or not, but he joined me on a couple of those trips as well.
Eric just had a little baby not too long ago, didn't he?
Yeah, just had a little baby, and so that was that, and it was a whole experience. And that most of that experience was born out of making a bad decision when doing business with the wrong person, right? And I ended up going out into the world trying to chase down, this guy's bullshit stories about where my money went, and ended up meeting amazing people, keeping my mind open to different opportunities. And this was around the time when the U.S. wasn't doing real great, and I was just waiting for things to settle down, and I was venturing out into doing other things. So, helicopters and, meeting kings of countries and being in the jungle. One of my partners got caught in a coup. Where it's an amazing life. It's an amazing life, and it stems from doing my best not to operate out of fear, and doing my best to learn every step of the way that I can go.
That's a great way to say it. What's the book that you're reading right now, Jason? What's a book that you're reading right now?
Which one?
I know. I've got like 5 different ones I'm reading right now.
Yeah,
right now.
I'm reading Seeking Wisdom.
Okay.
And the author is Peter Bevelin. I'm not even sure it's on, if you can get this book on, just on the electronic read, but it's a fantastic book. And those of you, I'm a student of Berkshire Hathaway, right? I'm a student of, that's how I've built my portfolio. I just, look at, okay, here's what he's done. And then I learned as I was digging that there's some brilliance behind, the front man, and not that he's not brilliant, but and his name is Munger, right? Charles Munger. Mm-hmm. This guy is an unbelievable, brilliant man. So I'm reading that, being blown away. My favorite book that I love to read at least once a year is called Mastery, and Robert Greene, I believe.
We're talking about Robert Greene?
Yeah,
yep.
Robert Greene. And again, it just goes into a whole bunch of people that decided that they were going to go stick, because this world, and you've heard, I don't know if you've listened to much Tony, but Tony talks about this thing called dabblers, right? I'm going to dabble with real estate, or I'm going to dabble with this. And then as soon as it gets tough, we go, well, I'll just go over here and dabble with this, because, rather than risk abject failure, we just want to say, well, that wasn't for me, right? And we live in a society still today that we can do that. And then there's enough people around that are dabblers that you don't feel out of place, right? That's why anybody that tries to come into my life that's a dabbler will not stay. They won't stay. You're either an obsessed freak like I am, or you're not my friend. You're not my friend. And it's not because I don't love people, but what I do takes a tremendous amount. I'm working, I sleep very, very little because I can't wait to open a book or to go help somebody or to apply something that I learned yesterday. It's a passion. It's something that drives me. And, the word obsessive has been used with me before. And I don't mind it. I wear it as a badge of honor because I'd much rather be obsessive than I would be being a dabbler. You're never reach. And that's the thing. The power of that book mastery for me is that the people that have moved this earth, that their name was in that book, that have been written in history, were not people that fucking dabbled, that just decided I want to play this game. And I know there's people out there that want to play it at a certain level and they're not built, with our personalities, but those people that are generally emotionally and mentally challenged constantly because there are so many dabblers, right? And that causes us to wonder what the hell's wrong with us. And there's nothing wrong with us except for the fact that we are not executing with discipline on the shit that we have in front of us to keep moving forward, right? And that's the difference. So progress for people like us is like air itself. If you don't have progress, if you're not making progress, if you're not serving someone, if you're not changing something for the better, then you start to die a little bit inside. And I've seen that a lot.
Jason, do you ever struggle with balance? Do you ever get over encumbered with some things as far as taking on too many things? Do you ever struggle with that and having to kind of peel down, shave off some stuff and because we both run with passions. I know that's one thing that I do. We got a million things we're doing because we're excited and we're doing, hey, this is going to help people. This is going to help people. This is going to make money, but it's going to help more people than the making aspect of it. It's going to add value of really having to focus and master specific things before, not dabbling, but you get what I'm saying. You kind of run yourself thin a little bit.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And here's my immediate response to the word balance. Okay, it is a bullshit word. Okay, because there is no look. And again, having seen all of the speakers and played this game for a long time, I tried to do that in my life before. And again, I think it's a spirit killer because what we're trying to do is trying to achieve something that doesn't exist. It's like where's the fountain of youth, right? And I can spend an entire lifetime trying to chase down this thing called balance, and I'm going to be nothing but disappointed, sad, and upset because it doesn't fucking exist. There's no such thing, right? There's some times when you got to put your all into Steph, right? And fuck the business, And then there's time that you got to put your all into your kids and F everything else. And there's another word that I love that I replaced it in my own vocabulary, whether that works for other people or not. I replaced it with the word alignment. And so I know that I'm here to change lives, to support, to serve, right? And so that puts me in alignment. Now, if somebody comes into my life that just wants to dick around all day or play or, go do all that kind of stuff, they're at opposition with me. Right. And I've been in relationships like that where somebody's like, well, why don't you have more balance in your life? Why don't you play more? I am playing. Right now I'm playing. Right. When I'm
on a call with badass guys. Sound like a good time to me.
That's right. I'm playing. This is my fun. Right. Fixing a business and saving people's jobs and saving where people have invested their life savings into a company and it's about to go away. I get to save that. Right. That is my, and so if we get out of alignment and I just got back from Bora Bora, like you said, right. I was in Bora Bora in an overwater bungalow and went diving with the sharks and did a whole bunch of stuff. That was amazingly fun with me. But you know what else I did? I wrote. Right. Mm-hmm. I wrote. I took time for writing. I took time for thinking. It was a way for me to change environments, which I think we should do, right? If you're working in your basement, 12 hours a week for 3 months, it's going to kill your creativity. And that's the thing that makes you move forward, right? So this thing called alignment, I surround myself with the people that are going in the same direction. I partake in activities that are going to keep me healthy, that are going to keep my mind sharp, and put myself in a place with people and environments and opportunities that are all aligned for my gradual outcome and my life purpose, which is to help abuse women and children and the men that did the abusing, to try to help change their life. I mean, that's the way. That's what drives me. That's all I want to do, right? And the more businesses I have, the more women I can take out of one location and put them into another location where they've got a job and a roof over their head and safety for their kids, and then have a conversation with the guy that's doing the abusing and see if we can adjust him or offer him some tools as well. That's where every penny, I went through the big houses and the big cars and the, trying to make money the easy way and all that other bullshit, which just caused me trouble. It just caused me trouble. Every time I did it, I hurt myself or I hurt somebody else, because we were trying to do things. We were trying to do the shortcut, right? We were trying to avoid the hard work. We were trying, there's investments, and we don't take investment dollars in my company. We don't take investment dollars from anyone. The whole Regis Heart and all that is funded directly by me, because I went through the challenges of what happens when you're dealing in the investment world. So, so I would say that people, everybody I've met for the most part has something that they want to accomplish, something that's bigger than them, something that they're put on this earth to do. And that's whatever you're doing for income should be in alignment with whatever your true north is. And not to put it off to the side that if I make enough money here, bullshit. The first company that I bought, I was able to bring in and give a lady a home or a place to work and get her kids out of a scenario. Because, my mom and I and my little brother were in homeless shelters, protective custody when my adopted father would go on one of his rages and whatnot. They didn't have the resources or the capacity. They got us out of there for the immediate time frame of 24 to 48 hours or more, but they could never change the environment. And that's what needs to happen for people that get locked down in that. And I don't, like I say, I've made mistakes, but it's all been failing forward, and it's for a purpose bigger than myself. And that's what drives me, brother. I'm not any better. I'm certainly not smarter than the people that are watching this thing, But by God, you won't outwork me, and that's something that I got to thank my grandmother and my grandfather for. Is learning that work ethic and realizing that nobody's going to do it for me.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. There's no magic pill. Nobody's going to do it for you. Align yourselves with what your passion is. All right. Those are the three biggest things that people have to realize. Because if you aren't dealing yourself in your passion, yes, life is miserable no matter what you do. And that misery. Let
me make a caveat to that word passion, because a lot of times people confuse their business with passion. Right. And whatever your outcome is, your business can serve it, but your business exists for one reason, and that's to produce cash. Right? Because for your passion to live, for your passion to expand, for your passion to grow, there must be capital to be able to accelerate that growth and progress. And most people, I've seen it. I deal with a lot of passionate people and fucking broke. They're broke because they've got them misaligned. They're two totally separate things. You set your business up in a way that produces cash. Okay, it's not there to cure cancer. Take the cash, donate it to cancer, and solve it that way. But do not run your company ragged trying to fill the passion need with something that it's not ever going to do. Yeah, Chase.
I heard a really interesting note. Yeah, I heard a really interesting note on that. They were talking about how a lot of people will do exactly what you're talking about. Not just business owners, but just random people, like paycheck to paycheck people will donate a little bit of money instead of, say, paying to pick up a new skill for themselves or different things like that. And so they think they're helping the cause with these slow little nickel and dime things instead of doing things like like a Bill Gates, who just worked his ass off and then wrote a check and cured malaria in an entire continent.
Yeah,
like
you want to talk
just stop malaria for a whole damn continent because he, and he's an extreme case, but they don't focus. They think that for some reason this nickel and dimeness is going to make a change, and they don't stop and they go, okay, how can I improve myself to when I write a check, it's curing something, it's fixing a whole damn problem, and it's a strange mindset to have to shift to. Pay yourself for 20 years, so that way your next 20 are just insane for what you can give and serve and do. It's a different mind shift than a lot of people are used to.
Yeah, and Tony Robbins started with one family taking a turkey, and I think he's fed over 6 million people now. He started with one turkey, right? And it's the same way, but he only did that. And Bill Gates is a notorious asshole, right? And it takes being okay with people thinking you're an asshole for a period of time so that you can take care of your family. Look, again, it's our responsibility. We're the only ones that are going to take care of it. When I got myself in trouble, I had to get myself out. When I got myself, financially broke, I had to dig myself out. There is nobody standing around waiting to help you out of your own shit, right? There's people that will reach into your life at different times that, I've had them in my life but you've got to be ready and willing and able to participate in your own rescue. Right. And if you're not, then you're fucked.
Title for the YouTube video. You got to be willing to participate in your own rescue or you're fucked. Is that the name of your book coming out, by the way? Is that no? Is that not? Is Luke vulgar? No, not gonna work.
Exactly. So I think this was supposed to be a lighthearted talk over beer.
Yeah, it was. My beer's gone. And that lighthearted shit.
Yeah, no, and that rah is okay for a second, but Chase and I are both agreement on this. I think everybody is. It's around us long enough. Give us the shit. Give us the real shit. Cut away all the fluff. We want the real shit, and you've provided that today for sure. I mean, I'm getting text messages from people like, "Oh, this shit is awesome, loving it, man, loving it."
Good. The one lesson, like I said, I have fucked up a lot. I've made mistakes, and you either let them define you or you redefine from there and you learn your lessons, and a lot of people, they fuck up one time and then they think that they're bad people. They think that they've made, just don't make the same mistakes twice, right? Don't let yourself make those same mistakes twice, and don't let anybody. My grandfather, he told me one time, he said, Jason, don't ever believe your own press, right? Don't ever believe your own press, because no matter who you're surrounded by, some of them are going to pump you up into being this amazing Superman. And then there's other people who are going to make you out to be a devil. And you're somewhere in between, right? I have some devil and I have some light, and it's trying to balance there's that fucked up word again, but it's trying that's an actual balancing act between, going too dark and going too light. Because if you go too light, people take advantage of you and they take your shit, and then they have your shit and you don't have shit. Right. So, again, there's been a lot of times in my life, and this is from the thing that sparked this is being real. It's been a lot of times in my life where I have thought, this is it. I'm fucking done. You know what I mean? I quit. I give up. I'm over. Whatever I thought I was going to do, then I'm just going to be fucking working at McDonald's the rest of my life. Right. And I'm telling you, that indomitable spirit that every human being has inside of them, it's waking that up and then feeding it a little bit more every day so that it fills your whole body eventually. Right. And for guys that I talk to, I won't use that word. Donald Trump got in trouble for using it. So, but there's a weak side of us and there's a strong side of us, and really look at ourselves in the mirror every day, finding people that are real in your life that'll give you the real bullshit and slap you upside the head when you're doing dumb shit, and actually celebrate with you, right? Because the same people. This is an interesting flip I think we're coming close to the end of the time. But I have people in my life that when I'm doing really, really great, hate me even worse, right? They hate it, and they want to bring me down, and they want to, oh, Jason, you fucked this up. So what did I do? I went out and wrote a book about the shit that I fucked up, so nobody could say I was hiding anything. I'm like, here's all the shit I did. Now what are you going to do? Right? You can't let people have leverage over you, and the person you can't let have leverage over you the most is you. You have to forgive yourself at some point in time for the shit you fucked up, right? The relationships, the mistakes, you have to let that shit go. And people go, well, how could you walk away from that mistake and not feel guilty for the rest of your life? Because, asshole, what am I going to do about it now? I already made the mistake. The only thing I can do is honor that mistake by not doing it again and becoming more of a human being, more of my potential, so that I can serve at a higher level. Right. So, I don't know where I was going with that whole thing.
Forgive yourself. I think you're going, forgive yourself and keep moving on. I think
forgive yourself, drop all the bullshit. And it's amazing, the things that I've screwed up, the things that people that are close to me have screwed up, they become little tiny grains of sand in comparison to the monument that you build with bravery.
Wow. And I think that's a great place to kind of bring us to an end, because we were right at an hour there, Jason. I do have one question. It's called a half a question. Okay.
Half a question.
Half a question. It's fill in the blank. It's fill in the blank.
Okay.
I always like to ask everybody right before we wrap up a simple question. Jason Sisneros is blank.
A servant. Jason
Sisneros is a servant. That's awesome. Jason, thank you for taking time on our busy schedule. I know everybody got a ton out of this. This has been my favorite episode by far. I think Chase would probably agree to that over there.
You can't say things like that. That's like saying it's your favorite kid. Then the other kids are going to be all pissed.
Hey,
like, favorite day. I love Oklahoma. I love Texas. you're a fucking politician now. I'd vote for you. You got
works, man.
No politics here, buddy. No politics here.
What you gotta do.
I love you. I love what you're doing. I love hanging out with you. You and Steph have been amazing addition to my tribe, and I wish you nothing but the best, man. People need to hang out with you, learn what you're teaching, and spend time with you, because you are a good man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Same here, man. Sorry we missed you karaokeing in Portland a few weeks back.
You missed it, brother. I do a hell of an Elvis.
I thought you were going to go with Katy Perry, just with the hair.
No,
I didn't know. No, isn't that? No.
I can't do Katy Perry, but I can do Elvis like nobody else.
Well, we were looking forward to seeing you here this weekend, but I understand being out of town, so we will definitely hook up. What we need to do is we need to set some time and pull Aaron out and Michelle out and just schedule a vacation or a getaway for a couple days just to go do that. It'd be a fun time.
Don't threaten me with a good time,
brother. Jason, on behalf of everybody here, we got the over 200 plus people and Chase Thompson for putting this together and everything like that. Thanks for, again, taking time out of your busy schedule, and we'll see you at the top, buddy.
Chase, great to meet you, brother. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Jason.